There's 5,284 IB schools in the world. Now, if they follow a standard distribution curve, it stands to reason that there are a few on this side, the best side, and a few on the worst side. Today, we're going to look at the qualities that these best IB schools share. I've already talked about the 5 best IB schools in the world. You might want to go check that out. But right now, we're not going to go through a ranking or through a set of IB school names. We're just going to go through characteristics that the best IB schools in the world all share and what good IB schools have in common. Hey there, my name is Emiliano, and I really enjoy helping you guys out by enabling you to have a better IB experience by going to a better IB school or making it way easier for you to succeed. In this video, I'm going to look at the qualities that the best IB schools share and what makes an IB school good. Any school is an ecosystem. And like in any other ecosystem, there are things that have symbiotic relationships with each other. This means that if some things are doing good, other things will also do good. But if things are going badly, well, you get the idea. A good student-to-teacher ratio. So a good school will have a good student-to-teacher ratio. And while this is not indicative of a good school per se, it is indicative of other characteristics I'm going to list further ahead, like happy students and consistent staff. But basically, a good student-to-teacher ratio is important and is helpful because your teachers can give you more individualized and specific attention that may cater exactly to your needs and to your questions. And you know that your teacher won't be too busy because they also have 50 other students that also want to have somebody help them. So it's indicative of a good support system between students and teachers, and this is something that my old school nailed really well. I felt that whenever I wanted to, I could reach out to any teacher basically, and I could schedule a meeting with them and just talk to them, and just being able to slot in those one-on-one conversations whenever you feel like you need to can be great and can be very conducive to a good learning environment where everybody feels supported and nobody feels overwhelmed and with nobody around them to catch them. Happy students. One of the best metrics for a good school or a good school environment is that the students are generally happy. It is worthwhile considering that for us humans, the grass is always greener on the other side, and we teenagers do love to complain about where we are and how the other place is better. But that being said, if you're trying to collect data on how happy students might be, my advice would be to not just ask one person, ask a few, and that universities usually have a chat with a student section of their website, which can be helpful if you have some sort of more objective questions. But it is my somewhat cynical point of view that if a university is putting students or potential students / customers in contact with a student, that student won't say a lot of negative things about the school. So make sure your sample size is wide and that you're asking a bunch of people and not just one friend group. If students seem generally happy, content, satisfied, then that's indicative of a good school environment. Slow or not often rotation of staff members. I think another great metric for a good school environment and a good school is how long the staff has been there. I don't have concrete numbers as to how long, how many years, or how many people that have been there for X number of years is good. However, a good rule of thumb or a good heuristic is that the longer that members of staff have been there, the better the school is for staff, while at the same time, the more staff that have been there for a long time, the better the school is for staff. And generally, a school that's good to and for staff members will be conducive to a good learning and teaching environment where everybody has more or less a good relationship with each other, and that can foster a good learning environment with good relationships, with a good network of support, etc. What you want is a school with teachers that have been there for a long time and a lot of teachers that have been there for a long time, because that means that they are happy there and they are happy to stay there and that the school is good to them, and therefore they enjoy being there. And if they enjoy being there and they enjoy what they're doing, then they're probably going to be better at their job, because for staff, I will also include pastoral service if it's a boarding school, at the administrative staff, janitorial staff. Every member of staff is basically important because this is an ecosystem with a symbiotic relationship, so everybody matters equally. Nice and necessary facilities. I think schools should provide as much as they can in terms of facilities and resources to students. And now off the top of my head, I can think of a boarding center, a library, school shop, science labs, a cafeteria with proper food, a school nurse or infirmary, etc. But by themselves, these are not indicative of quality because they do depend on the school resources, the amount of students, the priorities, whether it's public or private, the location, etc. And a school might have 3 labs, but 1 science teacher. Or they might have 3 different gyms, but treat the staff terribly. And similarly, a school with no lab might have the best science teachers that can be, that work with their students in a way that can adapt without having a lab. Or a school with no library might have the highest teacher per student ratio, and therefore they can offer a lot of individualized attention that more or less negates the requirements of the library. So take all of these in context with everything else that I've mentioned, and don't just think that just because a school is more wealthy or has better facilities, it'll automatically transfer to a better school. An offer of extracurricular activities. The IB can be really stressful, and having extracurricular activities to just go and decompress can be great. And you don't need special facilities or classrooms for this. In my school, we even had a calculator club, so you really don't need much. You can have photography club or debate club or Model United Nations or a hockey club or a football team. Anything works as long as it can help students A, decompress after classes, and B, meet new people that aren't especially in class. Because personally, I attended a bunch of extracurriculars and they helped me meet people that I wouldn't have met otherwise if I hadn't gone, because they weren't in my class or in my grade. Plus, they might be helpful for CAS, so that also helps. A clear set of rules or guidelines that are enforced. We don't like to hear it, but rules and guidelines are important, and a school having a set of rules and guidelines that are clear can be so important and can make such a difference to our high school experience. It teaches us structure, obedience, formality, the importance of rules and knowing when to follow them, why rules are important, etc. And it'll also clue you in as to the dynamic and the relationships between students and staff, whether there is respect and discipline, or whether staff can control students or students are rude to staff. All of that reverberates in the learning environment. And it's important that there is more or less a clear and established set of rules and guidelines, so that there is a clear and established set of relationships and hierarchies that are enforced throughout the school without exceptions, favoritism, etc., so that everybody is on equal playing ground and you can all carry on with your learning without having to wonder if you're going to be singled out. And yeah, you just want that to be as clear as possible, and you ideally want them to be enforced too. A wide range of subjects and subject choices. One of the things that makes the IB stand out is the fact that you can choose out of a lot of subjects, and you can choose what you want and what you like based on what you want to study in university, and this allows for early specialization 2 years before you actually graduate. Now, this is important because what you choose to study during the IB will be the subjects that you are applying to your university with. So if you want to study economics, you have to be able to take economics. Now, it's not the end of the world if you don't choose the correct subjects. I didn't, and I'm still going to be able to study medicine, so you might want to go check how I'm going to do that up here. But it is important that you are not just stuck in a subject choice that you don't feel comfortable with or you don't like. So make sure that the school you're going to has a wide range of subjects that you can choose from, and that you can feel comfortable choosing and knowing that those will allow you to study in the university that is right for you. This doesn't mean all of the subject choices, because there's quite a lot, but just enough for you to be comfortable making choices, knowing that there is a choice that you can make and you're not being forced into one or another subject without your consent or because there is no other choice. Specialized staff. The IB is very hard and you go very in-depth in some subjects, and therefore it's important that the teachers are equipped and that they know what they're doing when they're teaching a certain subject. So more or less you want a history teacher or a historian to be teaching you history, and you want your GOK teacher to stick with you throughout the whole year, and you want your Spanish teacher to be more or less fluent in Spanish. Now, these teachers might teach different grade levels, so your history teacher might teach 8th grade, 9th grade, and then the IB, which is fine. Or your Spanish teacher might teach both SL and HL, but that's fine as long as your teachers are not spread too thin or are not teaching 50 different classes at the same time. Room to grow and explore. Now, while clear guidelines and rules are important and they will help you academically, it's also important that the school pushes you to try new things, going outside your comfort zone, to expanding your boundaries, because we are talking about 2 very developmentally important years of your childhood, and it's important that you try new things, that you meet new people, etc. So thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to check out my other videos in this playlist on the IB specifically. Make sure to subscribe for what makes an IB school bad. Talk about some red flags in the future, so make sure to subscribe, comment, and yeah, cheers, and I'll see you guys next week.